I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here.
This idea that J.D. Vance is the heir apparent to Trump, America first and make America great again. And yes, I said make America great again and not MAGA. I feel as though MAGA is overused, and I feel as though MAGA cheapens the movement, if you will. So I like to say it out, make America great again. It's easy for the left and for the haters of make America great again to demonize the term MAGA. That's why we should say make America great again, because if you tell someone that MAGA is bad, it's very easy for that individual to digest that and accept that. But try telling someone that make America great again is bad. That's a little more difficult thing to do, because the person that you're saying that to is American, and therefore you are telling them that they are bad. And people do not like to be told that they are bad. So let's say make America great again. Let's say the make America great again movement, etc. But let's refrain from using MAGA as often as possible. Believe me, the narrative matters. And who drives the narrative, who leads the narrative, it makes a huge difference, gentlemen and ladies. It makes a huge difference. We're going to talk about, as I said, MAGA, make America great again, America first, the idea that J.D. Vance is the heir apparent. I'm going to be up front. I don't hold any punches. I don't beat around the bush. I'm not sold on the idea at all. Not even remotely am I sold on the idea that J.D. Vance is the heir apparent to the Make America Great Again movement, the Republican Party, the conservative movement for the right. I'm not buying it. What I view, bear with me, I view J.D. Vance as a vague opportunist.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked it.
A vague opportunist. Now let me explain to you what I mean when I call him a vague opportunist, because I know that's not a term that you typically hear, and those words don't typically go together. But vague opportunist, that is an absolute appropriate term for J.D. Vance, because he's definitely an opportunist. He has never been a Trump guy. He was adamantly opposed to Trump.
But as somebody who doesn't like Trump myself.
And here's the thing. I'm a Christian. I accepted Christ as my Savior. I'm born again. But here's what I know. America is a Judeo-Christian country in spite of what Barack Obama declared.
We are no longer a Christian nation.
But let me make this point. The vast majority of the people in the United States are Christian, of a Judeo-Christian mindset. Many of you have attended church throughout your life, and you understand that when you come to Christ, you come and you have a testimony. You have that that testimony that you want to share with people, telling people how you came to Christ, how you vacated a life of sin and came to Christ. And that is key. That testimony is key. And that testimony helps us, the layman, helps us to understand the validity of your transformation. It gives validation to our carnal minds about your supernatural, your spiritual transformation. Coming to Christ, accepting Christ as your Savior. That is amazing. And because I understand that concept, because I understand that very real thing, I understand that J.D. Vance is just a vague opportunist. You see, J.D. Vance has never given us, has never offered us his testimony. He has never told us what made him, what brought him to this radical conclusion, this radical transformation, where he has gone from hating Trump.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked it.
Viewing Trump as the American Hitler. And he has said some of the most horrible and deplorable things about Donald John Trump. So, if that is the case, and it is very clear that was his position, and I contend continues to be his position, well, J.D. Vance, where's your transformational story? Where's your testimony? You see, your testimony did not accompany your repositioning of yourself politically and where you stood as it related to Donald John Trump and how you felt about him and what you believed him to be. Because you made it abundantly clear, he made it abundantly clear that he detested this individual. Okay, now don't get me wrong, ladies and gentlemen. There are people who are absolutely opposed to Donald Trump, yet they were able to elaborate and give testimony about how they made that transition from being absolutely opposed to Trump and now supporting Trump. And you have to understand, many people were opposed to Trump. Many people did not want Trump originally on our side, the right, the real right. And over time, we began to see this guy is legitimate. But let me make this point. It is one thing to be opposed to Trump, as many on the right were in the beginning. But it is another thing to hate Trump, as J.D. Vance did.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him.
To detest Trump, as J.D. Vance did. To say that this human being was despicable. To say that this man was the American Hitler. Other than Satan, you will be hard-pressed to find an individual that is more hated and universally accepted as being evil than Hitler. J.D. Vance did not just reject Trump. J.D. Vance did not just disagree with Trump. J.D. Vance hated Trump. So how do you, sir, go from hating an individual to all of a sudden going out campaigning for this individual, having this individual campaign for you, becoming a Republican senator, and then becoming the vice president of the individual that you said was the American Hitler? And you don't have a transformational story? You don't have a testimony? I can't be the only individual that it has discerned what is going on here. I can't be the only individual. But I do understand this. Not everyone has been blessed with discernment. And not everyone has been blessed with high levels of discernment. This will make many of you uncomfortable. In particular, many of you in Cincinnati, Ohio, it is a very politically romantic thing for you to be able to say that the vice president lives 2 blocks from me. The vice president lives 2 miles from me. The vice president lives in my hometown. The vice president lives 2 streets over from me. And it is a very politically romantic thing, and you all romanticize about being able to say that the president, because many of you want J.D. Vance to be the heir apparent and you want him to be the president after Trump vacates office, and it is politically romantic for you all to be able to say that the president lives in your hometown, Cincinnati, Ohio, that the president attends your church, if he even attends church, that the president lives just a couple of blocks away from you. That is a very juvenile way of dealing with a very real subject. And the subject here, at the end of the day, is America and the future of America. J.D. Vance does not like Donald Trump. Tucker Carlson hates Donald Trump as well. J.D. Vance saw the opportunity and took the opportunity. I don't know if Donald Trump was fooled, hoodwinked, or if he is playing chess, has decided, and he made the decision to keep his enemy closer. But what I am saying is this. J.D. Vance did not and does not agree with America going into Iran. And we've gone into Iran, and J.D. Vance has given no indication that he supported that, but he has given every indication that he was against that. And this, let me tell you why that is more crucial than anything. Yes, we've all heard the talking points, and they are very legitimate talking points. This has been going on for 47 years. Iran and their proxies have been attacking the United States, American soldiers, American interests, Israel, the West, etc. And that is an absolute true statement. And the Iranian regime should have been and has been blown to hell, but there are others remaining in that regime that must be blown to hell. They must be sent to the 72 virgins. Let's send them there. They are advocates for that, and I advocate that we do just that. And we keep sending them to meet their 72 virgins. But Tucker Carlson and J.D. Vance are not on board for that. And and while it comes to my mind, let me make this point. Stop saying and misleading people to believe that regime change is inherently bad. That is foolish. If there exists, and there does exist, a regime that has been attacking Judeo-Christian society, the West, America, America's interests, Israel, for 47 years while murdering their own people throughout this process, that regime must be changed. And that regime is holding millions of people hostage. That regime is holding millions of people in slavery. And the Iranian people do not want to continue to be held in slavery by this Iranian Muslim regime. The Islamic State of Iran and its leadership must be destroyed. Regime change must happen. And Donald John Trump, if he is under the impression that we are not there for regime change, yet he will simultaneously maintain the idea that we want to destroy their nuclear capability and prevent them from having nuclear bombs, he is sadly mistaken, because you cannot have one without the other. Because if you allow this regime to remain, they will eventually rise up from the rubble and they will have a nuclear weapon. Because there is no guarantee that the next administration, even if it is a Republican administration, i.e. J.D. Vance, will do anything about it, because J.D. Vance did not want to go there in the first place. He does not have the intestinal fortitude or the balls to do the things that are necessary. He doesn't have the political frame of mind. He doesn't have the social frame of mind. He doesn't have the intellectual frame of mind. He doesn't have the historical perspective to understand what he needs to do. J.D. Vance is not the heir apparent. Marco Rubio, I would choose him all day, every day over J.D. Vance. But my first choice isn't even on anybody's radar, and that's sad because he is definitely the most capable individual to walk into the Oval Office once Trump leaves. Why in the hell? What is wrong with America in particular? What is wrong with Republicans, so-called Republicans, and so-called conservatives that they can't see that the most capable individual is Lieutenant Colonel Allen West? I said it. But hold on, bear with me. Bear with me. Because there's much more to this. There's much more to this. You see, J.D. Vance jeopardizes America. In particular, if he were to become president. It would be another step in the wrong direction for Republicans, conservatives, and America. Now understand that any Democrat would be a wrong step, would be a step in the wrong direction. Any Democrat would be a grossly wrong step in the wrong direction. But here's my point. The Republican Party, conservatives, and America cannot continue to move center-right and to the left. We cannot continue to do this. We are losing America every day as we continue to move center-right, left. We are losing America every day. And now let me talk about this because this is crucial. This is consequential. The Exodus Media Network, what I deal with, what we deal with is consequential information, period. The conservative voices, the Republican voices, I'm talking about the pundits, I'm talking about the radio show hosts, the podcasters, etc. And all the ones that you like, all of the mainstream ones, all of your favorites are leading America into the hands of Islam. And Islam is laughing. Islam is laughing hysterically because all of the top names, Mark Levin, Sean Hannity, Glenn Beck, we'll pick on those three. Now, I like those gentlemen, but I'm not going to fucking be a coward and not speak truth to the matter. And the truth as it relates to this matter is this. They continue to say political Islam and radical Islam is the problem. And then they will go as far as to say Islam is fine. Islam is okay. Gentlemen and ladies, that is an absolute lie from the pit of hell. And that lie was authored by none other than Satan. The problem is Islam.
I don't know how fluid and transparent I could be right now on this podcast.
Go for it.
There is a radical ideology that is hostile towards Christianity, that is incompatible with Western fundamentals, that has swept through the East, that has swept through the continent of Africa, it has taken over all of Europe, it has entered into our shores. And if we don't have an awakening in this hour, your children are going to suffer, and so are mine.
I believe you're speaking about Islam.
Of course.
There's no distinguishing political Islam, radical Islam, and Islam. They are all one and the same. And political Islam and radical Islam, so-called political Islam, so-called radical Islam, falls under the umbrella of Islam. what you see people doing when they act out political Islam and radical Islam is what they get from the Quran, and that is the same Quran that they are studying from, reading from, preaching from, and teaching from in these so-called good mosques that are scattered and littered all over the United States, and they should not exist. They should not be here. But you people can't say it. You're too cowardly because you want to be politically correct. Everybody has a brand to protect. Everybody has a cash flow to protect. Nobody wants to be fired or let go by their employer. So mom is the word. Ladies and gentlemen, it is utterly and bitterly disgusting when you have millions of listeners and everything, meaning America, is riding on the line, and you cannot be honest about the enemy. And the enemy is Islam. Now let me say this. Let me shift a little bit. Still talking about Islam, still talking about the Islamic State of Iran. Many have said that we should not have attacked Iran. They lie and act as though it wasn't imminent that eventually this existential threat, and they are an existential threat, was going to have nuclear weapons. And those nuclear weapons would have been used against America and our allies. Now let me make this point. No Islamic state should have nuclear weapons. And you all will say, well, what about Pakistan? Pakistan is the only other Islamic state that has nuclear weapons. Pakistan has approximately 170 nuclear warheads. Pakistan's nuclear warheads are a result, i.e. a response to India, and India having nuclear warheads. India and Pakistan are enemies. So Pakistan armed itself with nuclear warheads as a deterrent and as a response to India. I don't think that that is any justification for Pakistan having those weapons. We should have never allowed that. That should have been prevented. But now they have them. And we should be about the business of finding a way to get Pakistan's nuclear weapons away from them. So let me say this. Pakistan, in a different set of conditions, and those conditions could come about, Pakistan would be the same threat that Iran is if Iran would have nuclear weapons. But the conditions right now are not conducive for them to behave like Iran. But we should absolutely work on removing the nuclear weapons from Pakistan. That should certainly be a thing. Now let me say this. Iran would have certainly used those weapons. I applaud Trump for doing what he has done to this point. But if Trump does not remove that regime completely and allow the people who wish for a non-theocratic government to come in, to go in and do that, it would have been all for nothing. And Trump will be basically passing the buck to the next administration. And Mr. Trump, I'm telling you that we cannot allow this buck to be passed. I believe that Mr. Trump has the intestinal fortitude to completely eradicate the Iranian regime. And he absolutely should do that. He should stop listening to the people that are in his ear, telling him that regime change is a bad thing, telling him that regime change is not part of our agenda. They are wrong. That is the primary agenda. Excuse me. That should be the primary agenda, because regime change is the only way that we can ensure that those people will not go and remove the rubble and resume what we have been working to prevent them from doing. Gentlemen and ladies, there must be regime change. If we don't have regime change, we have accomplished nothing. We have just postponed the inevitable.
Through the blood, sweat, and tears, struggles through the years, had fears, but I persevered. It's clear I'm still here.